You're listening to Heart with Saima, the podcast show for people searching for that courageous person within us who wants to be inspired by listening to stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm Saima Dillon, your host. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here. Let's dive right in. My guest today is Rich Cardona. He's a first generation American, retired Marine Corps attack helicopter pilot and combat veteran. After 2 years in a corporate work environment, he quit and moved into his in law's basement and searched for which of his curiosities could potentially lead to a business of his own. Rich Cardona Media was born. Rich's team helps seasoned executives and seven-figure entrepreneurs become more viable by solidifying their personal brand, determining which social medium they should leverage, and owning the content creation process. Rich's podcast, The Leadership Locker, is where influencers and industry leaders share their expertise with entrepreneurs, small business owners, and transitioning service members. Guests have included Gary Vaynerchuk, Charlene Johnson, Kendra Hall, Patrick Bet-David, and many more. So without waiting anymore, let me bring him on. Hey, Rich, how are you today?
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure and honor. It's especially it's a pleasure having people from different walks of life, and I'm a firm believer of diversity, and I think for me it's I'm going to complete my 1 year of doing my live streams in end of April. And
Congratulations.
yes. So time flies, right? Especially when you're having fun.
Yep.
And I think the best thing, Rich, that has come out of this journey is simply the kind of people who have come on the show and the diversity. And what they've made me realize is that regardless of the color, cultures, religions, regardless of all those differences which seem just so big, it makes you realize they actually are not. And you have so much more in common with people. We are all just, as a human race, we are all just so similar. It's just, it's just amazing how many similarities there are versus differences.
Yeah.
So having said that, I'm going to hand over the screen to you, and I'm going to let you give us an introduction about your life and what has been the biggest high of your life.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. So you already kind of did an introduction, so I won't rehash too much of it. But I do certainly like to talk about the Marine Corps and that being my first self-aware moment. And the self-awareness came when I realized I certainly was not going to do well if I, in fact, graduated high school and went off to college. I'm not even sure my parents could afford it. So that was my first self-aware moment. And I joined the Marine Corps in August 1998. And right around year 3, September 11th happened. And I had no plans of re-enlisting. I planned on doing 4 years, getting some money for college, getting some character and some discipline, and then getting out. But 9/11 changed a lot of things. So I re-enlisted, and then that led to another essentially 14 years altogether. And then I retired a little bit early. But that experience in a whole is really hard to compress in a very concise way, because it has given me everything, all the perspective in the world and experiences with people that I never would have met, and experiences that I never would have endured had I not done that. So that was incredibly important. And then, like you mentioned, I did the kind of the corporate thing for a couple years, and then eventually started a media company. So looking back, the totality, and I'm sure we'll get into other things, but looking at the totality of everything, what is the highest high? It's so cliche, but I mean, it's my daughters. I have 2 daughters. I'm a girl dad, and I I mean, I just stare at them sometimes and like watch how they laugh or watch how they cry or watch how they move or whatever it is. And I am just so, I just didn't know that your heart could like grow that much. I swear I just kind of thought like, okay, this is just part of life. You reproduce and you have a family if you choose to do so. That either that, you know, and that's part of just kind of how it goes. But it's just so different. I'm in awe of my daughters, you know, many times a day. And I think that's the highest high. And on the professional side, I would certainly say being able to serve overseas with an amazing group of men and women and just kind of handling business, I guess is the way to put it.
Wow, that is and I think it's also, you know, the kind of people who come on my show and I mean you know, just I think there's also this, should I use the word breed of people who are very, you know, so many people, especially men who come and they are so family oriented and they are, it's just such a, you know, it's a beautiful thing to watch how, you know, kids just change your life and they just, you're like, huh. How old are they, Rich?
They're 1 and 4. So yeah, it's I don't even know how to explain it. It's so funny. I think after my first one was 2, I was talking to one of my best friends because his daughter is very close in age with mine, and I was like, when does it sink in? He's like, I don't think it does. And I'm like, I guess you're right. You know, it just hasn't really sunk in sometimes. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting though, I will say, because it was only after them that I realized how obsessive I was with work, but in a positive way. Before them, I was obsessed with work for all the wrong reasons, I believe. And it just really kind of helped me shift my mindset that all the effort. What's that?
What were those reasons?
Well, the reasons for
before and after.
Yeah, I will. I'll tell you right now, and it's good. I just haven't really talked about this. So before, I was really obsessive about work because I desired to be seen. I had a desire to be seen, to be noticed, to be promoted, to be given titles, given positions, given accolades, given recognition. You know, all these things. And the reason I was doing that was because the schedule was so unbelievably demanding that I wanted to make sure that that time wasn't in vain. Right. If I was going to spend that much time doing something, and here's the thing, it's nothing I really desired to be. It was nothing I desired to be doing. It was just kind of, okay, I got an MBA after my Marine Corps career. And then I got this job and I was just like, okay, so here it begins. Here it begins. I am going to start climbing this corporate ladder. This is good money. This is a great company, and away we go. But I quickly realized that it was not a fit. And I also quickly realized that I felt, you know, I kind of had the golden handcuffs on, and I wasn't very satisfied with that. So I decided to just be an unbelievably hard worker. I think I would have worked hard anyway, but then it became a little bit different. And over the course of time, what happened was, you know, I was just angry. I was just angry at work. And like, you know, when you put that much energy into something that you don't want to do, I think eventually you become ambivalent about it. So that was that. And then I was literally just kind of putting myself in a position to just be fired, I think, because I did not have the you know, confidence to just kind of quit. So ultimately, later I found the media company, and now I'm obsessive because I get to help people tell their stories. I get to interact with people in my way, my terms. You know, I provide them services. They provide me revenue. They provide me a way of life. They provide me an income. And I love the trade-off there. But more than that, it's just never really transactional. This is so easy for me to get up every morning and just go. Just get after it. And it's not
love what you're doing.
Yeah, I love what I'm doing. When beforehand, I would always say to myself, this can't be it. And now I say that also, but because I know that, you know, there is no ceiling. You know, before I was like, this can't be it. Like, what am I doing with my life? Yeah. Now I'm like, this can't be it. the sky's the limit.
Yes, it is.
So that's the kind of contrast between the two experiences, and I'm just glad I discovered it.
Absolutely. And I think discovery also comes from intention.
Yes.
When you make that intention that, okay, you know what, something is wrong in the picture and something needs to be fixed. And you don't realize it at that point because you're kind of going with the motions and with the flow, but you don't realize it. But when you actually make that decision to bring change in your life intentionally, based on manifesting whatever it is that the world feels, the universe feels is the best thing for you to do, is right there, your life changes, the dynamics change.
Well, it's funny, we all know that feeling. It's just a very small percentage of people who actually do something about it. And for numerous reasons. There's logical reasons that we don't, listen to our gut feelings or listen or feel that energy. I mean, we all know what it's like to drive to work unhappy, or to go home to that person that you shouldn't be with, or to post content on social media when you just really don't even care about it. Whatever it is. I mean, everyone has their kind of vices, and we have the right voice, so to speak, in our heads telling us what's good and what's bad for us. But we always find a way, and it's not the path of least resistance actually, but we always find a way to suppress it in the hopes that we will somehow come out from under it. But usually when it has that much of an adverse effect on you, the stronger the effect, the faster you need to take action, because the faster it can spiral out of control, right? So I mean, let me just give you an example. Let's just say I have 20 pounds to lose. If I'm really, really unhappy about it, I can make slow, methodical adjustments and probably get there. But if my arteries are clogged and I need to have a surgery, but I can't have the surgery because I need to lose a specific amount of weight, then it becomes kind of an emergency. I am now inducing the possibility for something catastrophic to happen. And the same thing goes for life. The same thing goes for business. If you are like massively unhappy, now your family's unhappy, and now you're taking risks, and now you're just doing crazy things because of that, like I said, that ambivalence, then that's when you need to listen more than anything. When you have a bad day because your boss, wasn't emotionally intelligent, or because they gave you bad direction or miscommunicated, you could get over those things. Like, that's not like, oh my gosh, DEFCON 4. That's, I need to work on this. So there's a difference.
A lot of courage, though. It
Yes.
takes courage to follow your passion and to walk away from whatever that source of income is, especially if you have a family, all those things. Yes, it does take a lot of courage to believe in yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would take that a step further. I think it takes a lot of courage to determine your passion. I think some of the things that make us really, really happy, we actually don't look at it as something that we're deeply passionate about, because you don't take it seriously, because it's not actually probably making you money, right? Yeah. It's not probably whatever. So I think really kind of determining, like, I am really passionate about this. Like, how can I do more of this because of how much gratification it gives me? I think that actually takes a lot of courage, instead of kind of, putting it to the side and being like, yeah, I'll do this from time to time. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm aligned with you.
But as a trade-off, if you do find that courage to go after what you believe in, then it just changes your life, right? It just brings in a lot more fulfillment and joy and happiness to be able to do something that brings a smile to your face.
Absolutely. I mean, there's just not, what's the word I'm looking for? There's just really not a lot of negative byproducts that come after that decision, because one of two things is going to happen.
Yeah.
Your life is going to get unbelievably better because you made an amazing decision. And if somehow, because there's always risk involved, if you made a bad decision, you will have learned something that you just don't get taught.
Yeah.
Like that's just the way it is. And I really, really strongly believe that. And I think, when you do have that courage that you were talking about to pursue what you're passionate about, I truly believe it becomes, it enhances the ability for you to endure failure
Yeah.
more so than before.
Rich, I feel that, if you can own your failure, you will find the courage to persevere.
Yeah, I mean, failure is so subjective, right? I mean, I look at it so differently now than I used to. I'm telling you, I am someone who's extremely hard on myself, and Marines are as well. Like, we were very critical about so many different things, but I used to look at it as failure, like it's failure. That's what does that say about me? When in actuality, I forget, one of my area managers when I worked at Amazon used to say, she used to say problems are opportunities, but now I look at it like failures are opportunities. Like, it's an opportunity, number one, to determine that's something I don't want to do again. No big deal. Or this is something I want to improve on, or this is something I'm excited to keep trying over and over. So, failure is, I don't think we're really failing. We're just living. I mean, that sounds so cheesy, but
no, but everything in life is perspective based, right?
Mhm.
If we can just change our perspective, we can actually just start enjoying the experiences regardless of the outcome.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that.
And I think your experience, as in the Marine Corps, that probably impacts, and that helps you. That's already laid such a strong foundation in your life for you. So tell me about, and we were chatting about this just before we started, about your experience. Flying helicopters, and so tell us more. I would love to
Yeah.
know more about that.
Yeah. It's so interesting. There's not a day that I don't reflect on what serving gave me. But I think, we were talking about it at the beginning. I don't remember if it was when we were talking at the beginning or at the beginning of this, but diversity, how important diversity is. And that is one of the most diverse like the military service is one of the most diverse organizations you will ever be part of. I mean, it doesn't matter like where you come from, what your political affiliation is, what the color of your skin is, how tall you are, how short you are, like especially in the Marine Corps, like you are a Marine. So it's like, Army has soldiers, the Navy has sailors, the Marines are Marines. Like we are, the uniformity aspect of it is something we really, really, really pride ourselves on. But that makes you, it's in a strange way, it makes you more cultured, even if you've never left the United States, if that makes sense. So I love that aspect, because I just, everything you were unfamiliar with, you become familiar with these new people, these new characteristics, this new way of life, and then the mission is always more important than the person, so to speak. But you grow to love these people, and that's like always going to be a huge takeaway. So the camaraderie is something that gets talked about all the time, but it's I mean, I just have to admit this, and I don't mean this negatively, but it's just nothing that's you could get that could be replicated on the outside. There's just not. So for me, every time, this is funny, I don't think I've ever shared this. Whenever I feel like I'm losing, maybe business isn't going so well, or maybe I see people who started when I started and they're making a lot more money, or I don't know what, and these are civilian counterparts, not friends of mine who I served with, I always think to myself, but they didn't get to do this. But they didn't do this. And I don't know if that's just me calming negative self-talk, or me actually looking back and being like, I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed that I had 17 years worth of just unbelievable experience with unbelievable people. But, one thing I should mention is that I started off enlisted, which means, I was not an officer. I started off enlisted. I was going to do 4 years and get out. I stayed in, like I said, after 9/11. And as time went on, I just decided I wanted to aspire for more. I wanted to try and do an officer program, and I wanted to be a lawyer. There was a law program that the Marine Corps offered, but I don't think I qualified somehow. And then lastly, I just kind of went for it. I looked around, found some programs that would allow you to go from enlisted to officer, go to college, become an officer, and then go on, which is not very normal. And in the Marine Corps, we call those Mustangs, someone who was prior enlisted and then became an officer. So I was able to do that. And the only reason I even got, started in the process was because I was one of the only people in my entire battalion that submitted my name and, the documents and went on it's called a board. It's like an interview. I was the only person who did. So it was like a very easy decision for them. It was very low risk, okay, to say he wants it. He prepared. No one else is interested. Like, we can send him forward. So that's what started the process. So the whole entire thing there was, literally taking the initiative and putting your name in the hat can mean the difference between a life, an entirely different life. So did that. And then eventually I flew. Now, flying was never a desire of mine. And I never grew up, with helicopters in my hand or planes and doing all this stuff. I mean, some pilots I know were obsessed with aircraft, were obsessed with aviation since they were kids. And I was like, not that guy, not even close. So it was actually challenging for me because of all the studying. I mean, it's unbelievable. All the studying, all the flights, all the critique, all the debriefing, all the everything. And then the danger of it. It was actually, we lost a lot of people, and a lot of it was not necessarily related to combat. I mean, flying is a dangerous profession, and the thing is, like, it makes you so sharp, especially flying a helicopter. I mean, you are doing so many different things at once, and there's just moments where there's a millisecond and you stop and you're like, I cannot believe how many different things I'm doing right now. I'm flying, I'm talking, I'm controlling, I'm pressing buttons, my feet are doing something, I'm listening to someone in the back, I'm looking out of the corner of this eye, I'm looking through this lens, I'm scanning. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So here's the
Master
thing.
of multitasking.
It is the ultimate multitask. I mean, it is the ultimate multitasking. And the thing is, you are up in the sky. So it's not like multitasking here, right? It's not me talking to you and then looking at the live over here and then my phone and here's this and that. And it's not like that. It's you're up in the air. So, so the reason I wanted to bring that up, and I know you asked, is I would not consider myself a great aviator by any stretch of the imagination. I think I was mediocre, maybe good, who knows, whatever. Okay. But I never thought I could do some of those things. And it's just amazing. We talked about failing and quitting and some of these things prior, but it is amazing what can happen when you decide not to count yourself out. It really, I think the ability to surprise ourselves in positive ways is completely underestimated.
It's like most of our brain is unused, right?
Yeah.
And then put you in that position where you are and flying and doing all those things at the same time. And then it's that opportunity to use your brain more than what normal people use it for. And, what an experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think we all have that kind of, you can look back and you were like, you could say to yourself, I was so dialed in. Like, how did I ever do that? How did I ever get through those exams or anything? We all have those moments we reflect back on. And if you could look back at those moments and say, what was I doing? What was my lifestyle? What was my commitment? What was my habit? Which we all look at it like, that's an extraordinary amount of work. I don't want to do that again. If you don't want to do that again, then you probably won't get back to that level, but you never know. So, I think it's important to reflect on it.
Always. I think that's what we take forward in life. I think, experiences, memories, whatever you take forward, you you kind of sift through and you leave behind, some of the negative stuff, and you salvage on to the good that came out of it. And so were you involved in combat?
Yes.
Wow. Now that is just taking everything to another level, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I will say, all I can say about that is everything I just said was magnified to another level. It's really, really hard to articulate and convey the fact that everything was on the line. Everything mattered. The learning curve was super fast. Like, there was no time to be slow. I mean, you get there and it's like, here we go. We got to ramp up right away. And again, you just get into this mode where you are you recognize, and this is always really, really crazy to me. You recognize that you are performing at probably the highest level you've performed at anything ever.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stress you out.
Wow.
That was the crazy part for me. I was not stressed out. I slept like a baby. Showed up to work. We were all just dialed in. It was just, it's like I said, it's really hard to articulate. But when you could recognize a moment in your life where you're like, I am absolutely operating and firing on all cylinders, and I've never been in this exact position before, it's just an unbelievable and unforgettable feeling.
Singularity of focus.
It's unbelievable. It's not repeatable. I mean, it's so hard. But yes, singularity of focus. It was.
No two moments are the same, right?
No. A lot less distractions. I remember that. It was just really, really, I can't even explain. It's so funny because I always say to my wife, I just want to get back in Afghanistan shape because I was in such good shape. And it's like, what do you mean? Like, did you have time to work out and run and all this stuff? It's like, yeah, I worked out, every other day or whenever I could. But, the funny thing is, the food is whatever you got. We were fed, and we were fed well, but I was not following any kind of diet or of any kind. So I was working out. I was under a lot of stress. I was getting rest. I was hydrating all the time, and I was doing things and sleeping all weird hours. But, how did you end up being like, not only like as smart as you could possibly be, but like physically, like, whoa, like, levels that everyone wants to look like that when they leave. And it's just so funny to me, thinking back on it, that it makes no sense. And you could set all the ideal conditions you want around here, and you won't get there. It's not the same.
Rich, can I slip this in? It
Please.
could also, it's probably also the age and that, the adrenaline and
yeah. Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
20s and the adrenaline rush and I maybe right place, right time.
Yeah. It's I just think there's very few moments in our lives where you're like where you can conceivably say, this is the highest calling, right? Like, this is the highest calling. Maybe a family emergency, or maybe something that you witness that's horrible and you're trying to help, or whatever it may be. But there was no higher calling than that. So it's very funny how, your energy and your mind and your confidence and your skills sharpen and culminate into allowing you to perform at that moment. Or those moments over and over for a few months. But yeah, I mean, it was incredible. And
it's also survival.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny you say that. It's innate, but consciously you're not thinking about it that way. It's hard to explain, but yes, you're absolutely right. It's certainly survival.
It's do or die.
Yes, literally.
We've seen too many James Bond movies.
Yeah.
So now corporate world, and then having your own media company. Do you miss those days?
Of the corporate world? No.
No, not the corporate. The
Marine Corps.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I make it a habit on my podcast. when I go to do interviews in person, which I love to do them in person, I always make it a habit to give them one of my squadron patches. Let's see if it's visible. No, it's not visible. I like to give them a squadron patch because I miss it so much, but because again, it's when I was operating at the highest level, surrounded by the most amazing people, and endured a lot of triumphs and also some losses. So I reflect back on that time where where you're, how do I say this? You're so consumed with the moment and the mission that you don't really appreciate all the people around you. And I appreciate people so much. Ever since I've been out, I'm like, wow, my appreciation for people is just so different than I had ever imagined. So I always want to kind of leave guests with something special. And I'm like, and I tell them a quick story about the squadron. I give them the squadron, and yes, to answer your question, I absolutely miss it. And I mean, yeah, I don't do cool stuff like that anymore. So,
Do you still fly though?
no.
Oh, do you not miss that?
No, I mean, to an extent, but you can't do that kind of flying out here.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so.
Wow, what a journey that must have been.
Yes, absolutely. So it was good. Actually, I went in when I was 17, and I retired 17 years later. I was 34, so I had spent exactly half of my life in the Marine Corps when I was retiring. It was unbelievable.
And that's a very long time.
Yes.
17 years. That's quite a long time.
Yeah.
So, how long has it been since you started your media company?
The media company is approximately, it's just under 2 years old. I kind of thought I had something going with, photography and some other kind of loose video concepts. And I did a couple things. I was freelancing. I officially kind of made it a company in June 2019. And, running a media company, and I would probably more accurately categorize ourselves as a personal branding agency, is extremely exciting because around every corner is someone new. No client is the same. No client has the same needs. No conversations are the same. My amazing COO, Eliza, and I, we're a very good 1-2 punch, and she's one of the most pleasant people I know. And she always says, like, I've never had a bad conversation with anybody. It makes me laugh. But operationally, let me try and do a better job of explaining this. Operationally, it's extremely exciting because nothing is ever perfect, ever. I mean, there's always room for improvement. When you're an entrepreneur, there's something lurking in the shadows at any given moment that's going to surprise you, whether it is a prospect that is about to sign a proposal and they change their mind at the last minute, or you forgot to run payroll, or maybe I show up to a shoot and I don't have a memory card. I mean, you never know. So the unpredictability and the instability compared to being in a corporate job or being in the Marine Corps, where, I mean, everything was completely stable, essentially, at least financially, especially all the benefits, that all kind of disappears. So this is, this is also survival in a way. But more importantly, I take so much pride in it because I never, number one, knew I was going to have an agency. But I'm a first generation American, and you mentioned that, but I never knew that entrepreneurship was possible. I never knew that being a business owner was possible. All I did was watch both sets of my grandparents work, and they were doing kind of very low-level jobs, janitors, housekeepers, whatever it may be. Then there's my parents. My mother was administrative positions all her life. My father worked kind of as it's called a plant engineer, but he really was just a handyman at a hospital. And then there was me, and then my sister. And we just thought, okay, like just work hard. We're going to end up in a job. We have to have a job, and that's it. This is not a job. This is creating on a daily basis. I'm creating, what this business is going to look like on every single day that we operate. I'm creating my leadership style. I'm creating
your vision.
Yes, the vision, the communication flow, the offerings, the price points, the documents, the processes, everything. it's literally, you're kind of painting something, but you're right. The vision is one of the most exciting parts, because one week you may think this is your vision, and another week you may think it's another. And I don't mean just ideating blindly, I don't mean
But it
meandering.
is. That's entrepreneurship for you right there.
Yes. I mean, it could be very mistaken for ideating and meandering, when in actuality, everything that you're going through, you know what? I remember something I wanted to say specifically on the show, which was, you are where you need to be. My mom says that all the time, and I never really understood it until this year. Like, every moment you look back on your life, and for better or for worse, you are where you need to be. Like, that situation happened for a very specific reason, and now I'm able to do that in the present, where beforehand I was unable to do so. So to answer your question fully, the excitement is unparalleled in this kind of journey. And I'm just extremely fortunate. These people trust us to serve them. And I'm more fortunate that my wife is, an unwavering supporter, and allows me, gives me the ability to do this on a daily basis. Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, I completely understand, Rich. I've been a realtor for 16 years, and people being a real estate agent, and you work on personal brand, and I'm literally that's what I've been working on for the past year, is or 8-9 months. I've been focused on understanding and building that personal brand, and people have so I know that I already, being a realtor and being that person who's always out of the box, I was just telling someone earlier, I was on a show earlier today. I was telling them, if the masses are going in this direction, I will automatically go in this direction, because there's something just missing right there, which automatically makes me do what normal people don't do.
I love it.
So, I will just do that. So there's this brand image, and then I tell people that just because you have that brand image, you can't even understand the journey of an entrepreneur, being a real estate agent, being in sales for 16 years. Yes, we do see the highs, but man, when those lows come and they punch you right there in your guts, and you're like, oh, okay. How do I get up? How do I catch my breath and get up? And that's what being an entrepreneur is all about. The highs, lows, evolving, and I think that's what it takes. You have to continue.
What has allowed you to do it for 16 years? What has allowed you to do it for 16 years?
So two things. One is, I do love what I do. And I think my tagline, which is let's touch lives, and whether it's my podcast, or I am in the growth phase of building, I have a vision and I'm building that vision. And it's all about, the vision, the growth, the love for what I do. You touch lives no matter what you do. Even in real estate, it's the money aspect, of course, it has to be there. It's what makes you pay your bills. But you're not doing it just because you want that money. You're doing it because you touch lives, and you touch people and their livelihoods and their choices, and you want to do the best for them. So I think, and then the second thing is just being an entrepreneur. Once you have that freedom where you make your hours, you function on your own schedule. And sometimes, yes, you're working 20 hours a day. Sometimes you're working God knows for how long. And you don't even know if, you have a vision, you're doing things, but you don't really know what the outcome is going to be. All those variables are there. But once you're an entrepreneur, you just cannot go back working for someone else.
That's so funny you say that. I said that to someone the other day. I once met an entrepreneur. He's a content creator, makes amazing videos. And I met him. This is before I had the business. And And I went to kind of look into my curiosities, like I said, and I went to this conference, and I said, could you ever go back? He goes, and I mean, maybe he said it with a straight face, but he's like, I'd rather be homeless than go work for someone else again. And I was just like, what did he say? And I'm not gonna say that, but I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing about what you said is the freedom. Like, yeah, sure, there's freedom, but you and I both know that means that does mean 20-hour days. That does mean low lows. That does mean, highs that sometimes are few and far between.
All of the above.
All
Check
of it.
mark, check mark, check mark.
Exactly. And one of my friends has this saying that I love, which is the grass might be greener, but their water bill is higher. And it's just funny. It's exactly right. I'm like, yep. Yeah. And you know what? What you said about when everyone's going this direction, you go the other one. It's because people like you inherently see, the opportunity where others don't. And that might be, just inside of you, that might be in the market, that might be in your industry, that might be personally, it doesn't matter. But I do believe there's just a different manner in which you evaluate situations. Which
I'm very free-spirited. So for me, it's, it's about living in the moment and living your best life, owning your mistakes, no matter how much they might screw you up, but they're still your own mistakes.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's a high that comes from it, because you're like, hey, you know what? There's accountability. I'm responsible for my own. You're not sitting there just blaming the whole world.
No.
You're not like, I did this because of this person or that person or this person did. You know what? I did it all. Yeah. I'm fully responsible.
Yep. I that could not be more true. I mean, the ability to really kind of have that self accountability and that ownership is something that stands out to me significantly. It's our number one core value, which is accountability. Let me see if I could read this. Without accountability, there's no ownership, and without ownership, there is no blame. It's just owning things to me now feels so much better. And trust me, I do not like to get corrected. I don't like to be reminded of things I forget or anything like that, for work, mostly because it makes me upset with myself.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, yep, it's like totally on me, completely my bad. I apologize. I forgot that, or I apologize. I forgot to get that to you, or I'm sorry for assuming you were doing this when you should have been. It doesn't matter. It just honestly, it just makes things so much smoother. And I just didn't realize that for many, many years. I think when there is literally no one else to point the finger at except yourself, yeah. I think things change dramatically.
And they do. And literally, like I told you, I am in phase 2 of building what I'm building. And but when it comes to, doing what you need to do, like I'm originally from Pakistan and I came to the US as a student. Mm-hmm. And, on Friday, I'm leaving for Pakistan. I have everything else which is happening in the background, mm-hmm. plus COVID and whatnot. And I'm going for like a week, need to take care of some stuff for my parents. My parents are there. Yes. And, but I figured, you know what? Okay, how is this going to happen? How is that going to happen? And I told my assistant, I was like, you know what? Everything lies on your shoulder. So you're going to be responsible for everything. So
yep. You can't
in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, like here's the thing, and that's tough for you and for them, because now all of a sudden they're faced with all these questions they'll have to answer. I mean, they're just faced with so much. The good thing is they will have grown by the end of it. The second thing is for you, you can't not go handle things.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, this is for people listening.
Yeah.
As time goes on in your small business or entrepreneurship, like if you can't take a vacation, then you are doing, or even if it's not a vacation, if it's just, Yes,
Because
it's
you're engulfed and you're overwhelmed and with so much going on and evolving and whatnot, that you just need that time. You need that mental shift to happen. You
yep.
need that shift where you I have wanderlust.
Mhm.
So for me, my second home is literally a DFW airport. And
Mhm.
as soon there's the Terminal D, which is the international terminal, and
Yeah.
which as soon as I step into Terminal D, I forget everything and I'm already airborne.
Yes. Well, it probably helps that the Wi-Fi stinks on planes anyway. So I mean, yeah. But I completely get it. I wanted to say that it's not just the vacations, but as you go on, if you can't take a vacation, or you can't go take time with family for a week or whatever, then something is wrong with the manner in which you're leading and the
Yes.
manner in which you're operating. Because if you are the linchpin for the daily ongoings, there's going to be huge issues, huge issues. And that just takes a lot of growth. I mean, there's a significant amount of growth that will eventually allow you to know that the business can operate with or without you for short terms. And I think when you get to that phase, you're in a very good position.
And that's literally, actually, that is what I'm building. I'm building systems, with where I hope to accomplish automation. I'm trying to leverage everything that I have been involved in and I've learned and I've grown with in the past, couple of decades. So even just real estate, being a realtor for 16 years, I'm just working on automation and leveraging and
Cool.
adding on realtors. And so I have a few different things which are work in progress, which are going on. And it's exciting. And I think of what COVID has done is it's given us this that that additional factor that we were looking for, which would help us kind of utilize this space where we are connecting with people and we are doing things and we have people working from us in different places, and that magnificent collaboration with creating a brilliant team that can allow you to function even remotely, right there, that allows you to travel and like for me to go to Pakistan and figure
Yeah.
out, okay, my next week's live stream, will I be able to pull it off over there with,
Well,
how is the internet connection going to be? Do I
yeah,
take my
it's so
mic with
funny.
me?
Uh, as you were talking, I was just thinking to myself, and I said, I remember you said you're coming up on a year. So you said April will be a year of
End
doing
of
the show.
April. End of
Right?
April.
Okay, end
Yes.
of April. So you decided to do this when clearly everything at that point last year was just awful. No one knew what was happening. Everything was spiraling out of
Yes.
control. People are looking for toilet paper, like just all of it, right? Like we were all in that mix where it's just wow, like state by state things started
And I
happening.
was without toilet paper. Just put that in.
So you decided to do this. Now
Yes.
here's the funny thing. You, as things are kind of calming down, so to speak. I mean, and I'm not here to talk about COVID or anything like that, but things are slightly getting better. There's vaccines, things are opening up, blah blah blah. Like it would be incredibly easy for this to be your COVID live streaming fling, right? Like
Yes.
this is just I flexed my creative muscles for a little while. I did some shows and that's it, but that's not anything I detect from you right now. This is like, no, I'm going to actually try and do this when I'm over there. That's dedication.
Yes,
And I think that,
I'm like thinking, okay, you know what? I would love to be just sitting at the beach over there, but I would like there'll be just too much sound. How do I pull this off? But that is one of the things that I'm hoping to accomplish is with my podcast. I'm hoping to re-strategize starting May, and when I launch in May. in 2022, I hope that I can completely change the way I've been doing it, so that I can be anywhere in the world. I have real estate automated. I have my podcasts, which I can do from anywhere in the world. And that's what I hope to do. Is I'm traveling, no matter where I'm in the world, I connect and I do my podcast.
I hope you get exactly that. I really do. So good for
I
you.
hope so too. So, well, I always feel that this is that 1 hour every week, which is something I look forward to, because I have amazing guests who come and they enrich me and they teach me so much. And it's a great hour learning from everyone and making friends. Rich, what are your plans with your digital marketing? Not with your digital marketing, but I know you're working on personal branding. So what made you get into personal branding? And then you've had Gary Vee on your podcast.
Yes, I'm having him again in June.
Oh my God! How
I
did you
know.
do that, Rich?
I'm very excited. So the reason we are doing personal branding is because I found my voice through a lot of trial and error, and I now realize that there's incredibly successful people out there that are maybe kind of behind the curtain a little bit, and not necessarily because they desire to be, because they just don't want to get involved with a podcast or social media or just having a personal brand there or blogging or anything like that. And the thing is, these people like you want to serve others. They want to inspire, they want to help, but they do it in their own way. And although they have the desire to get their message out far and wide, they are completely intimidated by the content creation process, whether that is, starting a newsletter or starting a podcast or beginning to have some video content that's going to go on all social media platforms. That is a problem I'd like to solve. Like, I'd love to solve that problem. I could help you tell your story better. I could help you feel more comfortable on camera. We have copywriters. We can help you get a podcast started. I mean, all these things that I have learned during the course of my kind of, transition out of the military and then out of corporate have really given me the gift to be able to help people, determine where they belong, how they want to show up, and to reach more people. But here's what I always like to say is that if you really want to help more people, you're not going to be able to do it from behind the scenes. So when and if you're ready to really kind of become unwrapped and put your voice out there and help the person who was you 5 years ago or you 5 weeks ago, there's someone out there that's ready to listen. Yeah. Like, I guarantee it, there's someone out there that's ready to listen and to do what you're doing or is interested in what you have to say. So that's why I did that. And then the podcast, I mean, the podcast was originally to help transitioning service members and veteran entrepreneurs. But I really have just seen that it applies to all business owners. It just applies to people generally. And, when I am able to have people like Gary Vee on, or like I just had Patrick Bet-David on, or Dory Clark, who's really big on LinkedIn. Just a lot of different people. What I part of the reason the podcast exists is to help others, but I also learn too. Like, I'm not going to lie, like, give me a break. Of course I'm going to learn during the podcast because I have questions of myself. And then, I mean, I know I'm not the only one with those questions. So if I could be the conduit to get that expertise out of these people, then I am going to do it. And I enjoy it the same way you do, I'm sure. It's just an incredibly enjoyable process. And I will share, one of my techniques for getting some of those bigger guests is to seek out the people around them. And I'm not talking about gatekeepers or anything like that. Like, who do I got to talk to? Especially a guy like Gary. Like, he's always talking about providing value. It's like, okay, so who around him at his organization could provide value for? Is there someone I can make some video content for? Like, he's got tons of video content, but some of the people around him probably don't. So who can I do that for? What can I offer some of these people? How can I reduce the degrees of separation to a degree? And I never, ever, ever ask them to try and help me out to get closer, so to speak. I just use that when I make my ask to whoever it is, whether it's him or someone who controls his email or whatever it may be. Here's a couple of things I've done on the front side that I think might let you know the type of person I am. And it like 90% of the time it works. I mean, instead of going in cold. So anyway, I love to do it. I'm fascinated by the guests I have on, and I absolutely love to learn and to kind of give that knowledge to others as well.
And this is, from my perspective, very cool, because I've been telling people that since I've been on my journey, that I'm working on becoming my own version of Gary Vee. So,
yeah.
So that's what I tell everyone. So when I read, when we were preparing the stream, and when I read, I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I see the name is coming up, and maybe universe is aligning something or putting something together. But just wherever you're able to touch lives and do whatever makes your soul soar. And in the same capacity, of course, you're working hard. You're putting a lot you're investing a lot in the product that you're creating. So you definitely do want to make sure that that does pay off, because that is why you're doing it. But at the same time, you're building and you're doing things, and you want to create something good. So hopefully good things come out of it.
Absolutely. I'll be sure to message you when we do it, because we'll probably do it on a live stream, since
So I have a suggestion, Rich.
Yes, please.
So you need to tell Gary that we will select just one person from the audience, and
ask a question,
go on their podcast.
Yeah. That's a really great idea. That's a really great idea. Actually, I'm so glad you said that. Yes. I think
just don't forget me, okay?
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't forget who gave you the idea.
Absolutely. I will not, but I will certainly let you know when that comes. And I really, really appreciate, all the time. And I love what you're doing. I love what you're aspiring to be. And I'm really honored to have been a guest on the show.
Thank you. So how about I'll let you do your final pitch. It can be sales pitch. Just share your website, your number, your information. Although we have been doing it and it's all over,
yes,
but it's your moment. So whatever you would like to share.
Here's what I would like. And I won't talk about some of our business offerings. Like you, I am really, really invested in my podcast. You are talking about trying to do your podcast from Pakistan next week, some way, somehow, which means you care about it deeply. I feel the same way about mine. It is not a moneymaker. It is very much something that is a passion, and the passion is very minimally for my gain. It is for the gain of others. So that's what I would say is if you could check out the podcast, The Leadership Locker, wherever you listen to podcasts, please give it a listen. I have some solo episodes that are 10 minutes or less, and then I have great ones with guests like Jocko Willink, Gary Vaynerchuk, Chalene Johnson, Brad Lay, Dory Clark. I mean, just a lot of great people. If you want to listen to those, I would really appreciate it. Check it out. And if you like it, please tell your friends, share it, rate it, or review it. That's far more important to me than trying to make a sale here or anything like that. But I know there's really good things that, especially if you're an entrepreneur or aspiring an entrepreneur, that you can gain from it. And I promise you won't be disappointed.
Well, on that note, the hour comes to an end. Rich, it's been an honor having you here, learning from you, and having a good laugh over, over everything. So thank you for being here.
Thank
you. I wish you all the very best, and I hope all your dreams and aspirations everything comes true for you.
Thank you. Likewise, and I hope you have a great time next week handling business and good luck trying to get the podcast done. But thank you for having me on so much.
Uh, Thank you. All right, I'm going to remove you from the stream so we can end our show. So on that note, once again, friends, thank you for carving the time out to hear what was shared on today's podcast. If this inspires you to take the next step, email me at vip@simadillon.com and join my email list where we chit chat and we stay in touch together. And of course, if you feel that there is something in my podcast or something shared which can enrich someone else's life, then help me touch lives. Let's touch lives together. Just take 30 seconds to simply share the link to the podcast in a text or share it on social media. And I will be so grateful to you. And on that note, thank you for being here. And